I thought we sang that circulation thing again, but maybe not. Okay, today's talk is about imagination. If you haven't figured that out yet, since I've been talking, that's what it is. And before I start really getting into it, I wanted to tell you about something I have subscribed to for a number of years, and then I kind of forgot about. And it is a little whimsical daily read that this man who invented it sends out every day. Some of you may be using it. It's called TUT, T-U-T. Okay, I see somebody. It's called The Universe Talks. I forget the man's name, but they're very whimsical and interesting. So I'm going to tell you what he sent to me many years ago that really made me laugh. And at the time, because I wasn't expecting it. So let's look at the first part. He says, well, well, well. Would you look at that? Rose Houston is back on top of the world. What a picture. How splendid. Hallelujah. New friends to comport with, wild critters sensing your confidence, and children who hold you in awe. Laughter ringing in your ears, happy tears streaming down your face, and arms aching from all those hugs. My goodness, if some of your old friends could see you now, Rose, they'd faint. You've been visualizing again, haven't you? Beaming for you, the universe. P.S. Funny, isn't it, Rose, how thinking about something all the time isn't quite the same as visualizing just 5 minutes a day. At the time, I remember thinking about it, and I thought, 5 minutes a day is not a lot. There are a lot of things we can do in 10 minutes, 5 minutes, to bring our spirituality and our bodies into alignment with spirit. I just read in the AARP bulletin. Now, I know you don't think I should be getting the AARP, but I do. It was a mistake on their part. But I read recently that if we devote 10 minutes every day to getting our heart rate up, you can do it any way you want, even sitting down, it will extend our life, but it will also rejuvenate us. I can hardly believe that. And it's particularly beneficial for older people. So I have made a commitment, which I haven't kept yet. Starting on Monday, I'm getting on that bike for 10 minutes. And it says, even if you can't get on the bike or you can't do 10 minutes, start with 1 or 2. In older people, it works. So it's a small commitment, just like 5 minutes of visualizing will bring extraordinary results. Today's talk is about the divine faculty of imagination, and my title is called, Can You See It? Because if you can see it, the truth is, you'll manifest what you want. Do you believe that's really that simple? Do you? Okay. There might be a teeny more to it, which we'll get into a little bit, but that's the basic, yes. So it's true that if we use our imagination faculty, which is one of the 12 powers that Charles Fillmore, our co-founder, talks about, we can come into alignment with the universe to produce wonderful results. In fact, we can change any behavior. I know that I was able to do it by this faculty. And I gave up all sugar, as you know, all flour, all desserts. It's been almost 10 months now. And at first I didn't feel real good, but I feel really good now. So I'm just saying that when you can imagine yourself doing something, like desserts don't exist for me anymore, they really don't. You can use this faculty to quit smoking. You can use this faculty for anything that you kind of crave. But I want to tell you a story about a lady in Kentucky. And she was talking about her family. They had lived in a one-room cabin like this for generations. They had no insulation, so what they did was they stuffed newspapers in it. And this happened generation after generation after generation. Those are her words. But she overcame it. She got out of it. And because she got out of that consciousness of lack, a minister, not myself, but one of my colleagues said, "How did you do that?" And this is what she said. I guess I came to believe inside of my mind that I could have better. The word believe is very important. I could see that there was a better life ahead of me. I could feel it calling me. So, what is calling us this morning to do, to be? That was her turning point. Otherwise, she'd still be in that one-room cabin. All her relatives who had lived there had complained about how horrible it was, and the problem was they didn't see an open door of hope. They knew there was a physical door in the building, but they did not see that there was a spiritual and a mental door through which they could leave that awful place and have better. Part of it is belief. How many of you today have walked through the door of your heritage to a better life than your parents knew? Good many of you. It is important to realize that heritage is important, and we want to keep the good things. That's another thing I've decided to do. Never look at any of the things that I label bad, but only at my good memories, because they uplift me. What's the point in listening to your self-talk that tells you, ain't it awful? Albert Einstein had something important to say. He said, imagination is more important than knowledge, because knowledge is limited, and imagination circles the world. In other words, we can go anywhere with our imagination. And I would even say we could go out to the cosmos if we decide to do that. It's important that we understand that this is a perfect tool. It is one of the easiest faculties to use. It's the only faculty that will immediately bring results. The other ones require sometimes a little time. Another startling example is the vision held by, everybody recognize him? Martin Luther King Jr., yes. He was working at this church. It was a one-room church, and when he looked out, he saw one room. He was in his 30s when he began to work for another church, Ebenezer Baptist Church. It was still a small church. But today it's a different thing. It has strived to become a huge church. What was the change? What allowed people to go from a one-room ministry that was to one that was expansive, and most importantly, that was given a mission to change the world, our culture here in America as we knew it? If you were to ask the administrator, he would have said, oh, there's another picture of what it looks like now. Okay, I don't want to go there. The administrator would tell you, I guess the turning point was when we realized we could do it. At that point, I guess we saw a greater reality than the one we were in. And that is the important part of imagination. Whatever reality we are in today, we can let it go and see a greater reality. Right now, I'm working on getting a regular driveway and instead of stones. We'll see how quickly that happens. And then he said, we saw ourselves changing the world, and that gave us the power, and then God empowered us. Exciting. They were able to see it, they were able to feel it, and they had faith in it, and they followed it to completion. And this is what I learned. They found that door that would lead them to a better reality, a more aligned with spirit reality. So they manifested it by feeling it first, having faith in it, and following it to completion. Our co-founders, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, also had a great vision. Their goal when they started out was to lay possibilities before everyone who came to them for prayer. In Unity, as you know, we don't teach guilt trips, and you shouldn't do it to yourself, and I shouldn't do it to myself. And we lay God's message out for people so that they can experience that upliftment, so that they can experience, through imagination, a better life. Like the lady said, I became aware I could have a better life. Unity is about transformation, and you can do it in many ways. Spiritual transformation requires that we meditate, taking some time in the silence. But if there was ever a church that was up against a wall of concrete in 1954, down south, concrete consciousness holding them back, it was the Ebenezer Baptist Church. But they chose to see a different reality than they were experiencing. You know what it was? It was choice. They chose to bring forth that door. It didn't just happen. They wanted to walk through a different door that would give them a huge and wonderful venue for their mission. So we can do it too with our vision, no matter how small or big it is. The thing we have to do, the important thing we have to do, is not give energy to the old way. If we, visualize in the morning, and I've done this when I was a lot younger, this before I was a minister, I'd sit there and I'd visualize, then I'd walk out the door and complain. It's not going to work very well. You're giving a double message to the universe. So we want to get the right message by focusing on what we want and not focusing on what we don't want. Then how do we begin? Well, I started a little test on myself a couple weeks ago, and that was saying this: this is the best day of my life. Divine wisdom is my compass, guiding me to peace, love, and joy. And so start imagining how each day will be. Before going to bed, say the same thing. I'm going to have the best day of my life because divine wisdom is my compass. In fact, that's how I came, as you know. I don't know if I told you this or not when I was out before. But I saw my daily word, divine wisdom is my compass. And as I meditated on that last summer, it came to me, it was time for me to retire for the fourth time. Which I did. And what marvelous manifestations I've had doing this in the last couple of weeks. My days are really getting much easier to go through. I don't feel stressed or overwhelmed because I've already set my intention. There's a wonderful story about Michelangelo. He was rummaging around in a field where they just threw things down. It was in high grass, and there was broken pottery and all kinds of things. And then he saw that chunk of marble. Now, another sculptor had sculpted something and then threw this away because they felt it wasn't good for anything. So he found some men, and he asked them to help him move that. And they said, we really don't want to do it. It's heavy and it's useless. And Michelangelo said, yes, but I see an angel in it. And of course, what came from that useless so-called chunk of marble was David, one of the finest sculptures we have today, revered in Italy and in the whole world. It's marvelous. I didn't show the whole thing because there's no clothes on the guy. I didn't think it was appropriate for church. But he felt it in his heart. He had faith in his ability to do it, and he went for it. He followed through. By the way, if anyone is interested in, I have key ideas. I put them up near the hymnal. I want you to know that God always sends us angels. Angels are really divine ideas that come down to bless us. And through that faculty of imagination, if it helps, you can use angels bringing you gifts or bringing you ideas, and know that that's a door through which we can receive to a greater reality. Some people like to know they have assistants. Well, you can visualize an angel with a divine idea, or an angel with what you want being presented to you. So we know that this power does work. It is like a muscle, we have to exercise it. Actually, when you think about it, imagination is the chisel we wield in molding the paradise of our inner thought kingdom. Think of it as a chisel, chiseling out what you want. And Charles Fillmore said, both the character of our soul and body is affected by the power of imagination. and know that the power of imagination is the gift of God through which divine ideas flow. Now, we use imagination all the time. And I'm going to give you a good example of what you shouldn't do. When my son David was 16, he was going to get his license, and I was going to teach him how to drive. I became very scared. He wasn't a good driver at that time, and his near misses, I was just like, I can't do it. So I turned it over to my brother and sister, my sister and my brother-in-law. And they were much younger. She's 17 years younger than I am. You know, they're fearless. And they were able to teach him without a hitch, and he's a good driver today. But see, I could only imagine the negative, so I wasn't even able to get anywhere near helping him, let alone scaring the daylights out of me. In fact, all teenagers now scare me, because I know they might be like David. No, I'm actually over there. That means that we can use our imagination, negative, positive, but we should use it consciously. Consciously in a manner that we really are focused on it. Night and day, as much as we can do it. It will produce marvelous changes in our bodies and in every area of our life. It has to. The universe has inexorable laws. It has no way of saying no to you. It says yes to everything we imagine. So watch it. Okay, we can't lose by flexing this imagination muscle. If you think of a muscle that's never used, it's atrophied, it's loose. But when people start working out, no matter how badly, using some strength training, those muscles form and get defined. And so does reality with the imagination muscle. So this is one of the first powers to use if you're not familiar with the 12 powers. It's the one that will work the fastest, it's the easiest, and what I wanted to say was, don't worry I've had a lot of people say, but I don't see things. That is okay. It's the feeling tone of what you are interested in getting. I used to be able to see things pretty clearly, and then I had a certain operation and I lost that ability. But it hasn't changed anything because I can get what I call feeling tone. I can almost see it, but it's like I have a feeling about it that has substance. And that works too. So just know that the more you flex that muscle, the stronger it will get until it is so good. You'll just be able to sit down, do your imagination, keep it like kind of the high watch all week, all month, all year, and it will manifest in some form. The equivalent of some form. So this is what Charles Fillmore said. Imagination is the faculty of mind that images and forms. It is the power to shape and form thought. The imaging faculty presides at the nerve center between the eyes, as we all know in unity. And through this faculty, the formless takes place. The formless is the substance of God, as I've talked about before, that actually presses against us. What do you want? What do you want? It's there to serve us. So, simply put, this means that imagination we can lay hold of, take those ideas that we get. For example, the body. If we want our body to be different than it is now, or to be improved, or to be healed, we want to take a picture. Now, I have done some heart math when I was in ministerial school. Are you all familiar with heart math? It's a bunch of scientists in California who began to do experiments with the heart. And it actually showed that the heart has its own intelligence. And so it is actually a higher intelligence than up on the screen. And what we can do is come from the heart center, and we can shape it with the feeling of the heart in here. So when you do that, you have true imagination. It's not fanciful. It's not daydreaming. In fact, Ernest Holmes said that true imagination is not fanciful dreaming. It's fire from heaven which means it has tremendous power. And Charles Fulmer, the highest and best work of imagination is the marvelous transformation that occurs and works in our character. And he said, imagine you are one with the principle of good, and you will become really good. Judge Thomas Troward, who was a judge, an English author who lived in the 1800s, and he influenced me thought a lot. And he said, once you've seen the result you wish to attain, you have already willed a means that will take you to this result. But remember, seeing is not enough. What did we say? We have to feel, we have to act like it's already on. We have to follow through. Have you read this book? 16 Seconds to the Adventure. Actually, it's a book written by, I believe her name, let me see if I have her name here. Yeah, Lynn Grayhorn. It says, excuse me, your life is waiting. Anybody read that? Well, in there, the one thing I really got from it, she writes, through experiments, that we have to be in the feeling space for only 16 seconds to start manifesting what we desire. 16 seconds. Try it sometime. It's not easy. I tried it. She said you have to feel yourself in the new job. Feel yourself in that new relationship. Feel yourself whatever you want. And then pay attention to what you're feeling, because it becomes and creates a magnetic field to attract those things to you. How many of you would like to try an experiment next week? Okay, good. Try it. Try taking something simple, or something hard if you're really encouraged to do that. But whatever you decide, make a commitment to start each day saying something that really helps you. This is my intention for the day. Or, Divine Compass is leading me through this day, giving me perfect results in every way. And then see that thing. See it if you can do it before you get out of bed. Just for a moment, 16 seconds. Do that every day and let's see what happens. And the next time I'm here, I'll see you all dressed in fur coats and diamond rings, I'm sure. Remember, we're artists of our own lives. We hold the paint. We hold the, what is that, a brush and a canvas in our heart. So we have to get as close to the solution as possible and as far away from what we don't want. And that means every time it comes up, oh my God, I don't have enough money today. Nope, I have plenty, 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 plenty. Refuse to listen to that voice. And the last thing I want to talk about is play. I've said this before, and I know this at a personal level. It is very important to learn to play with Spirit. Spirit is not solemn. Learn to smile. That's a gift in itself to you and whoever you're smiling at, even your animals. There were a group of people who were trying to figure out how they could use imagination and playing like a child in conjunction with each other. And they thought, well, children grow up, they play and they make believe, don't they? They try on different possibilities to create a joyful experience. And this is what they do. Have you ever dressed up and played something when you were little? I did. Maybe, I was a cowgirl for a while, and then I was a princess. But I played with it, I put clothes on, sometimes lace curtains, whatever it was. And I was there. I bet you have done the same thing. You played in your imagination. And this is how Tut ended the little whimsical message that he gave me so many years ago. By the simple act of thinking, vortexes are created, invisible energies are applied, and circumstances begin creeping to make real what was previously just imagined. Oh, I'm in the wrong place. Things don't just happen. A lot of people think that if you ask, if you visualize, it's just going to drop out of the air. That is not how it works. It is through that. creating the vortexes, the magnetic field, to get the nearest equivalent of what you've been desiring. In other words, it's the law of attraction. You become a living magnet to attract what you want. And then there was one quirky ending that I liked. He put, but of course, many prefer not to think of themselves as so phenomenally perfect. So I encourage you this morning to go ahead. Use your imagination this week. Make it a priority, especially with Thanksgiving. My, you could have a great time imagining that all of your bills are paid and thanking God for it. See it. When I used to make my treasure maps up, I made copies of real money, little copies about this big, so that I could see real money against anything that I desired, if it required that. Because remember what Tut says. It does create vortexes, invisible energies, and all that we need to begin coalescing and forming and coming straight to us. It's your choice. It really is your choice. And I now bless you knowing that with the power of your imagination, your life will change beautifully, easily, magnificently. May you be blessed this week, and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Take a deep breath. And as you release it, allow yourself to relax completely into this sacred place. That sacred place where the presence of God abides. And as you become aware of a light that is you and everyone else, imagine yourself entering a stream of light. A light that encompasses you in protection and love and in all that you wish. It's shimmering and beautiful. And it's like walking the labyrinth. As you get to the center, you get to that place deep within where the very presence of God abides. That beautiful spark of light. And imagine yourself sitting in that circle, closing your eyes, opening your palms to receive, and looking between the brows of your forehead. Begin to take a moment to visualize, to see this Thanksgiving being the greatest one you have ever had. Even if you don't have a family, even if you're not going anywhere, see yourself sitting at a wonderful, abundant table. It is the table that God has prepared for you. It has all that you need. It has the gifts of spirit. It has the gifts of physical reality. And you have instant access to it. Take what you want. And take as much as you want. For it is limitless supply. We can never exhaust the substance of God. And so surrender to this great feast that is presented before you. And as I pause for a moment, imagine yourself feasting on divine ideas, feasting on love, feasting on divine order, whatever else you would like to have in your life at this time. And now feel it. Feel yourself receiving. And allow your faith faculty to increase as you flex your imagination muscle. When you've had enough, give thanks to God, the giver of all good, the Father of lights, who gives all good blessings. Rise from the table. And go as Isaiah said when his prophecy, arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord has risen upon you. You are a light. You are an expression of God. And you are blessed. Amen and amen. Let's sing the Lord's Prayer, number 70. No, sorry.